Seahawks and the Vikings getting set to match up this weekend here at Lumen Field. We get a closer look at this Vikings team with a man we've spoken to a number of times. He's back on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook hotline with us. Pete Burcich, Vikings radio analyst, is our guest today. How are you, Pete?
Good. I mean, getting ready for Thanksgiving, coming out Thursday. It's ironic to be talking to you guys about Darnold and everything. The Vikings, we've got some things that they got to fix.
Well, how big of a talking point is that out there? Obviously, it is here as we look at it, and Darnold, for the most part, has been really good with the Seahawks, and we've seen what Daniel Jones has done with the Colts, and people point back to where they were previously. Is that a national talking point, and it's not much of one there, or is that one where fans are upset at how things have gone at that quarterback position?
Yeah, I think that it's a talking point, but I think it doesn't quite make a lot of sense. Only in that the decision to let Sam Darnold go was made the year before he even got here, because you drafted J.J. McCarthy 10th overall. You traded up to get him, so he is your guy. And they should be getting credit for bringing Darnold in, and who struggled. Was actually facing his own mortality as a player, so to speak, and then was able to resurrect his career because he's in the right system, the right place, right time with the right coaches. Now they're saying, well, maybe you should have paid him and kept him and kept McCarthy on the bench for another year. It's like, yeah, well, you didn't know that he would hurt his ankle and miss a few weeks, and some other thing. It's just, you made the decision to bring McCarthy in. You made the decision that he is going to be your franchise quarterback, and you have to live with it. So if you're going to criticize anything, maybe go after that and say, well, how did you think he was worthy of a number 10 pick, so to speak? But the moves, and then letting Jones go. I mean, Jones, he's smart. Where do I have the best chance to start? I know I'm not going to start here in Minnesota because the franchise is invested in their draft pick, and decided to go to Indy, which was a good move on his part. He got paid probably a lot more money than he would have in Minnesota. Maybe not, I don't know, but at least he was more confident in his ability to start there. So in that regard, not a whole lot there you can criticize and talk about, although people just want to talk about it endlessly here and kind of everywhere else.
Hey, Pete. So I talked to a couple of guys in the personnel department for the Seahawks just about J.J. McCarthy, and he's kind of a mystery coming out of Michigan. I mean, I think he was a good quarterback, no question, but he didn't put up big numbers, and they had a really good running game there. But obviously, because when I talked to the personnel department, they're like, why would the Minnesota Vikings get rid of J.J. McCarthy? And so I mean, he's highly no question about it, but. What did you see from him that that made them think, it made O'Connell think that, hey, this is the guy that we're going forward with?
Well, I mean, he's been a winner throughout his entire career. The arm strength and accuracy is there as well. I think they liked a lot of the quarterbacks that were coming out that year. Don't forget you had Drake May and Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, and there were a number of guys, Bo Nix, right? There were a bunch of guys, and I think there were probably a number of them that they, I don't know what necessarily what the pecking order would be, but I do know that when Bo Nix was drafted, we were all pretty excited because then we knew McCarthy was probably going to fall to us. But yeah, he checked all the boxes. I mean, and here's the thing, Kevin O'Connell had proven that he could take the year we lost Kirk Cousins. He brought in the Pastronaut, and he brought in a number of guys and got them in condition to start and play probably as well as they could have. What he did with Darnold, he was a quarterback in college, a quarterback in the NFL, quarterback coach, coordinator, now head coach. If there's a guy on the planet that should be able to identify quarterback talent, right, you would trust Kevin O'Connell. Like back in the day when we drafted Christian Ponder, we had a defensive head coach in Mike Zimmer. You can make sense then if you miss on something like that. But his story is just starting. He's 22 years old, just had a baby a few weeks ago. Not him, but his fiance. Every time you lose like that, you kind of take a step back. I mean, we lost to the Bears because of all we had to do was cover a kickoff and not let Devin Duvernay take it all the way back to their side of the field, and maybe that conversation's completely changed, right? So it's hyperbolic. I'm not sitting here saying we're going to make the playoffs. I mean, the Vikings have a lot of work cut out for them, and there's a lot of development of McCarthy that needs to occur. And at this level, you don't always have a lot of time for development, right? You need to get better yesterday. So is it frustrating? Absolutely. 14-3 season last year doesn't help because that spoils you in a lot of ways. Everybody's pretty frustrated. And all that matters in the real world is what do his teammates think, right? What do they feel? What do they think? And we'll never know that. And, if they believe in him as a leader of the team, then they'll continue to battle. And it's putting a lot of stress on the defense and everything else. And I mean, we've given the ball away 21 times this year. 21. I think we're right around. We're not too far from you guys, but we're second worst on that. If there was an award for that, I think we'd be wearing the roses and get the crown. But so there's a lot of other things that are plaguing this team at the moment than just the young quarterback.
Hey, really quick, how did O'Connell handle that, by the way? Because Mike McDonald with the giveaways last week, there was 20. And you know this, Pete, I mean, the turnover ratio it's undefeated. And, that's right. Typically something that goes along with losses. But Mike McDonald was saying, well, what am I supposed to do? Tell these guys, hey, stop turning the ball over? But what was O'Connell's approach, or has he addressed that?
Well, I mean, I think there's the point of emphasis. I mean, technically there's some things that you can do, but so much of it is the situation that you put yourself in. Right. Defensively last year, for example, we saw more passes last year than any other defense in the league, about 63%. And so we were getting turnovers a lot. Teams were down multiple scores. They had to press and get the ball vertically. They didn't feel good about punting the football away and letting their defense make a stop. This year, it's been completely different. We played the AFC North. They're a run-heavy organization in that conference, but teams are just running the ball. That 63% number is pretty much flipped. And so the Packers team's really patient. They're just running the ball 2-3 yards a clip and make a short pass on third down. If it doesn't work out, then, we'll punt the ball and back you up and make you go to the long field. And, they're not worried about offensively. They're not worried about getting down by 2 scores. And so defensively, our guys are frustrated, not because of what they're doing or not doing, but because they're just playing the run, and then the short underneath passes and very safe styles from these offenses. And so that contributes to the takeaway side of it. On the giveaway side of it, it's just the opposite. We've been behind. I think that playing from behind has been the biggest thing, and being down multiple scores. Our offense does what? They feel the need to become explosive. They feel the need to get the ball down the field, and that results sometimes in throws that just aren't good, or a running back trying to do too much, a kick returner trying to do too much. And sometimes it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, because you don't want to get them tight, right? You don't want them hanging on too tightly. But at the same time, there are a ton of factors that go into it. It's like control what you can control. And I think pre-snap penalties and turnovers are probably two of the main things that you can control. And we just haven't quite. I think we're number 2 in the league in pre-snap penalties, number 3 maybe. I mean, on the bottom. I'm not saying we're the best.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We had 8 false starts, 8 or 9. We had 8 or 9 a couple of weeks ago at home, and didn't have one in the first quarter. Not a single one in the first quarter. It was the rest of the game. Now we get to go all the way out to Solomon Field and deal with the crowd noise and keep our fingers crossed that we're not jumping off sides every second or third play. And then you put yourself in 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15, or 3rd and 12, and now you have to throw the ball. And you see where I'm going with this. It's a cycle that you get caught in.
Yep. Well, Pete, as we talk, J.J. McCarthy is listed as questionable in concussion protocol, so potentially the Seahawks will be facing Max Brosmer, which I don't know how many people are familiar with him, but what can you tell us about the guy who could be starting that game for the Vikings?
Well, let me say this. You guys out west may not be familiar with Max Brosmer. Which is fine. That's fine. He's a East Coast kid. Went to New Hampshire for 4 years. Transferred to the University of Minnesota for his 5th year. And basically, when they had their pro day, our coaches are all there because it's right here in Minneapolis, and he impressed enough people to get the opportunity. They signed him as a free agent. Came in and played very well in the preseason, surprised in the preseason. I have a YouTube channel where I do film analysis, and I have one from from the preseason with Brosmer when we went up against the Patriots, who at the time everyone's like, well, it's the Patriots. Well, apparently the Patriots are pretty good. But Brosmer was very impressive. He has the blessing and the curse of being able to execute and play well without getting a lot of snaps, which is kind of a curse because if you get that identity as a player, then people just look at you as a backup. But yeah, I mean, does he have a cannon for an arm? No, he doesn't have the height, weight, speed. That's why he was, not drafted. If he was 6'5", he would have been drafted. But he's done a really, really good job when he's had the opportunity to play. He's had a couple snaps this year, but this will be his first regular season action. I assume with the way that you guys treated, Ward last week, that you'll blitz the living daylights out of him. That's a reality. But, I think this entire state will go absolutely crazy if Brosmer plays well because he's a kind of a hometown kid, and they love him here. So the fans here are very excited, believe it or not, to see the backup quarterback for a number of reasons. But again, we're in flyover land. But yeah, so Seattle fans may not be too familiar with him. He's a backup quarterback. He's a rookie too. So that's the reality of it. I expect a kind of conservative type deal on your end too, from a game plan standpoint. So we'll see how this all plays out.
Pete, you and Paul Allen had one of the more memorable calls last year. We've played it a number of times, and actually Rabel the other day in the booth. This was a couple games ago. He about Sam Darnold. He was like, Sam, like get rid of the ball, and it was somewhat reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
But when you look at what Sam's doing now and like how, I mean, did you think that was it for him basically? And people are still
last year.
Yeah, and people are still very skeptical with him.
Yeah, no, not at all. People are going to be skeptical. I mean, that's just what they are and what they do. And then for the fans that are skeptical, I'm Geno Smith. I'm familiar. It can get a hell of a lot worse, right? Look at those Vikings are in. Darnold did a fantastic job for us last year. He has a tremendous amount of mid to deep range accuracy. The production of Smith and Jigba is directly tied, I think, to what Darnold can do. And he's a good, solid quarterback. I think watching you guys on film, doing a lot to keep him out of the pocket, letting him roll out, play action, bootleg, all those things help because I think for Sam, I mean, every quarterback has a kryptonite, and if you can get in his face, hit him, hit him as he's throwing the football, maybe he dials into Njigba a little bit too much and just fires that thing out there, kind of like what you saw again, right? He's just like, I'm getting rid of this football. I got a guy that's going to split me in half. So that's where he's making mistakes. So I think the key to that is, yes, you got to get pressure on him, because if you just let him sit there in the pocket and throw, he's going to tear you apart. But I'm Darnold last year was an unbelievably big surprise, and he maintained it really throughout the year. He was sacked 49, 50 sometimes here last year, which is, I think, why we saw a lot of roll-off in his performance in the last 2 weeks of the season. So keeping him protected and keeping him upright is I think, critical and crucial for him. And the better your offensive line gets and the better your protection gets, the better Sam Darnold's going to get.
Pete, the one area I was looking at stats for the Vikings, just where they rank, defense, offense, different aspects.
Why?
Well, I wanted to see where they actually do excel, according to the numbers anyway. They're 7th in the league defensively against the pass. They allow just 186 passing yards per game, which plays into the conversation about Sam Darnold. What is it you see there in their pass defense that allows them to at least excel in that category?
I think the one thing to look at too, and going into Green Bay, we were 7th in the league in passing. On a per play basis, we were 21st. So again, I think that is exactly what I was referring to earlier, is that teams just aren't throwing the football against us because they don't feel the need to. They either have a lead or we've given them the ball 2 or 3 times. And they're just choosing not to. The one thing that we do still do well is getting after the quarterback. Our sack rate, I don't know what it is this week, but last week we were 6th overall. So that's number of sacks versus the number of passes so we're not, in total sacks, we're not going to be up there, but percentage wise. So if you're an offensive coordinator and you're like, Flores is going to blitz however much he has to maintain a certain amount of pressure on the quarterback. They're 6th in sack rate. Why would I risk? Why would I throw the ball 45 times in a game against a defense like this when their offense is having trouble putting up points on the board? And let's just play the long game. And teams are doing that. AFC North, that's what they do, right? They run the ball. And so that's been the challenge this year. I mean, defensively, those guys are playing well. We haven't really been tested through the air. We haven't really faced a team that's thrown the football 40 times against us because, again, they just haven't had to. But Isaiah Rodgers, we got from Philadelphia. When we signed him, I think everybody kind of, was more of at cornerback is playing very, very well. He and Byron Murphy do a good job. Fabian Moreau has been kind of filling in a nickel or dime spot. And, if we get Jonathan Grenard back for this week, that'll be huge. If you want to watch an injury ticker thing, I'd check for McCarthy, but see if Jonathan Grenard's playing, because I still think he's the best defensive player that we have. He's not killing it in the sack total, but he's killing it with pressures, and he plays the run very well, which I'm looking at Charbonnet and the rest of your running backs, and I'm thinking, you guys might just be, running the football the entire time. Because, again, for the reasons I stated earlier.
He is Vikings radio analyst Pete Burcich. He's been our guest once again here with Wyman and Bob. Pete, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks so much for taking the time in Seattle. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. It's my favorite road trip. I love Lumen Field. It's I played in the Kingdome, so I know what that was like back in the day. But yeah, the new stadium, and it's not new anymore, but absolutely love coming out there. So I can't wait.